Welcome to another edition of Talk City Greensboro, produced by GTN, featuring interviews and events happening around town. It's an easy way to stay in the know while you're on the go. Subscribe to Talk City on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play, and SoundCloud, so you can keep up with what's going on in Greensboro City government. I'm your host, Josh Johnson, and joining me in the studio today, first, as always, Mr. Devin Smith at the controls.
What's up, Greensboro?
And then we've got our intern, who has been doing a great job here, and you're about to wrap things up. Hopefully it won't be too quick. Taylor Lynch, thank you so much for joining us again.
Hello, everyone.
Joining us today in the Talk City studio is Dee Shelton, the fire and life safety educator with the Greensboro Fire Department. Because now that we have filled our bellies with turkey and stuffing, we are full steam ahead to Christmas, Hanukkah, and Kwanzaa. So the holiday season is coming.
It's here. It's not coming. It's here.
And so Dee is here to offer us some free sound advice about fire safety during the holidays. So thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
and you're
Dee.
right. Yeah, the holidays are here.
Yeah,
Have you been in the
yeah.
store since like Halloween?
Yeah, no, I've avoided the store. I thought about half a second about trying Black Friday. You know, I kind of looked up and I was like, maybe nah.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So speaking of fire safety, what are some of the things that you may get a lot of calls about during the holiday traditions about fire?
Believe it or not, cooking safety is still always top. It's a third of our fire call volume,
Mm-hmm.
And that's not just here in Greensboro. That's nationwide. So
Yeah.
unattended cooking, we have got to stay with what we're cooking. You know,
Okay.
a lot of people were crock pot. That's not what it was designed for. It was
Yeah.
designed to be able to cook. It's a little different. It's a slower, lower heat. But when we think of cooking on the stovetop, we're cooking at high levels of heat, and it's coming to us a lot faster. You got to stay with it if it's on the stovetop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, house full of people. I guess your attention gets pulled one way or the other. So you got to really kind of focus on what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what about some of the holiday traditions as far as trees, things like that? Do we get a lot of calls like that here in Greensboro?
We do. Excuse me. We have, of course you've got your heating because it's getting cooler. That's going to be a big issue. But with the heating and the Christmas season comes your electrical issues. We're either plugging that heater into something that it shouldn't be plugged into, like a drop cord or surge protector, some type of strip, or we're overloading the Christmas tree because we want everybody to see the Christmas tree or the lights
Yeah.
on the roof. So we're just overloading. It's pulling lots more energy than it does in a regular time.
Okay.
So, about live trees, what are some tips we can use to prevent these type of dangerous fires?
Well, Taylor, I'm glad you asked. I have a whole plethora of information about trees.
Literally has a whole list.
So, half of home Christmas tree fires occur between December the 22nd and January the 5th. Why do you think that's so?
Christmas trees.
Real Christmas trees.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
because that's when they're their driest. They're the deadest, as we should say, because when you first choose them, they're an evergreen. So they
Yeah.
go into when they're cut from the farm, they go into what's called a survival mode. All evergreens do this. So it sends sap to the cut area to seal off to keep itself alive and green longer. And so when we're out choosing those trees, we've got to be careful about that. Electrical failures or malfunctions is another factor. It's about a third of all of our Christmas tree fires. 1 in 4 home Christmas tree fires are caused because the tree is too close to a heat source, such as the heat. A lot of times we don't think about the window. Is your sun directly shining in the window? That's drying it out really quickly, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
1 in 31 home Christmas tree fires result in a death. And then a heat source too close to the trees, we talked about that, but that's about 1 in every 4 fires, Christmas tree fires. So in order to pick the correct tree, you want to shake it for the needles falling off. If it's too many falling, it's too dry. It's beyond help. You can't reverse that. So move on to the next tree. Have an attendant when you pick the tree. Have the attendant give it a cut at the bottom, about a ½ inch to an inch, and they're going to do it at an angle. And the reason for that is because when you're putting that in the bucket or the tree stand or whatever it's going to be holding the water, if the tree part that was cut is flat, your surface to mass ratio has completely been covered. It's not going to absorb as much water.
It's not getting
So if you
access
cut
to
it
as
at an
much water.
angle,
Yep.
right, it kind of gives it that, that access to the tree trunk. But you want to get home within an hour of doing that. So if you're, like this weekend, you were talking about Black Friday sales.
Yeah.
A lot of people choose Black Friday or that Saturday after. That's when they decorate. And so you're out shopping, and then you choose your tree. You should do that last and be home within the hour, because we talked about that survival mode. That tree is going to go back to that survival mode and cover that again. So you've got to get that placed. Give it the first feeding needs to be hot water, because that's going to loosen that syrup, that sap that's in there. You think about your syrup in the refrigerator. If it's in the refrigerator, if you turn it upside down, it's not coming out, right?
Yeah.
So you want it. So do the same thing with the tree. From then on, tap water is fine. Make sure that your all your lights and things that we're putting on the tree, there's no breaks in the wires, no broken bulbs, anything exposed. Make sure they're UL listed. And you want to make sure that they're not blocking exits when you put them up, of course, and just be careful of those heat sources where you're putting it.
Yeah.
And what's the number one rule for live trees?
Water. I was going to go in between all of those notes and say, and water it, but you want to water it daily.
Yeah.
If you look at it and it's got just a little bit of water left, go on and fill it up again. Keep it to the top as much as possible.
You can't overwater it.
I don't think you can over.
Okay.
I've never seen one that was overwatered. Never seen one overwatered.
So I actually took the liberty to watch a video of a live tree catching on fire, and a lot of people think that it has to have like a flame to catch on fire. No, it just needs to be hot enough, and
Or a spark from electricity.
and it
And when it goes, it goes.
Yes,
Like,
it is, and it's a roaring fire
instantly.
Yeah.
It's not like
There's-
lighting a campfire or
Yeah.
something where
Yeah.
the kindling kind of burns slow, and then when the tree, I've seen those videos, and when they catch, man, they're immediately
You can find them on
roaring
YouTube.
inferno.
They're really easy to find, but there's a perfect one that I use in some of my classes that truly, they teach us 1 to 3 minutes, you've got time to get out of whatever building is on fire. But in 46 seconds, that room is gone, completely
Yeah,
gone.
it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
46 seconds.
because it's all over the roof.
Yep.
It burns everywhere. It's kind of crazy how
Yeah.
fast it goes. So please water your live
Yes,
trees.
water.
And no
Water.
candles, no real candles. You can buy the candles that have the battery in them. Use those. They serve the same purpose without the,
Yeah.
the problems that
hazard.
the live
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah.
In the studio, talking to Dee about all things holiday safety related to fire. So what are some of we kind of hit on electricity and stuff like that. So what are some things that people can do during the holidays to cut down on the lights? I know some holiday traditions are heavily involve candles. What are some things that we can do to kind of cut down on fire and be aware of our fire safety with that in that regard?
Much like your unattended cooking, don't have an unattended candle. And a lot of times we think if they're in that glass jar, oh, it'll be fine. No big problem. Have you ever seen one of those explode? I have.
Wow.
And I've actually talked to a few other people who have seen that. I won't say any of the brand names, but some of those that were beginning, coming along this whole candle thing of smelling the room up.
Oh.
Those little ones that you buy from that big company and those big stores, those I have seen. They're really thin glass. I have seen a couple of those. When they get down to where there's almost no wax left, it pops the glass because it gets so hot. Yeah. So you have to be careful with that. Just don't, anything that's a live fire, don't leave it unattended. Stay with it. Don't go to sleep with it lit. So if you can use the battery operated, they have them now with those cute little flames that they look so realistic. It's hard to not use those, and they don't waste. They stay. Yeah, they're really great. They stay, good as long as the battery's good.
Yeah.
So they don't go away, and you don't have to replace them.
What about and I know I'm going to date myself, but all the electric candles in the window, you set them in the window and then people pull their drapes and leave them overnight. Is that okay? Or they have newer ones that are a little safer, or do you want to try to be sure you turn all that off?
Well, with electricity, there these companies that make things like that, the wiring, as you know, if you've seen things that from back in the 40s and 50s, the wires definitely look different. You can.
Yeah, it's more like
You know what?
70s. I
You
wasn't
will.
going that far back.
Well,
Jeez.
but, yeah, you got to catch things that are. You don't go to antique sales. I do.
Yeah, actually, I do.
Those old wires,
Yeah.
you can tell. You're like, that's going to need rewiring.
Yeah.
Because things have changed. Things are different. Even in all the codes, they're updated every 4 years at this point. But newer wires is going to make it a little
that's
better.
a good point. I mean, I have hand-me-down, stuff that my grandparents had.
Right.
So if you got any of that, you definitely want to be sure the wiring is up to code.
Absolutely. But, as long as they're plugged right into the outlet, I'd prefer you didn't go to sleep with them on, but at the same time, we have other lights in the house that sometimes are left on.
Yeah.
Just not overloading those circuits. Make sure that those wires are in good shape, and it should be okay. You don't want your curtains against it
Right.
if it's one of those light bulbs that will heat.
Yeah.
You want to make sure it's free of it being covered.
And that's kind of like the same idea with the Christmas lights that we hang on our roof, that we hang on the Christmas tree. We want to kind of keep those away from fabric. Of course, keep
Absolutely.
the outlet away from fabric. So what would you have as far as an idea to make sure that we're not overloading circuits, as far as what normal house outlets or surge protectors are supposed to take when you're plugging in strings and strings of lights?
Well, and the thing of it is, and this goes into a whole nother topic for another podcast, but electrical safety, it's not the surge protectors per se that are going to protect you from that. They're protecting from a surge of energy, such as a lightning strike, or if the power was out and the power company fixes the problem and they come in and they turn it on and it surges the area. But a circuit interrupter strip, which looks like we just say surge protector, much like the Band-Aid on my finger. We say Band-Aid, but that's
Right.
actually a brand name.
Okay.
There's other companies that make a finger bandage.
Yeah.
But there's other companies that make that plastic strip that looks like a surge protector, and that's what we call it. But some of them are actually like a circuit breaker in your breaker box.
Oh.
So if you plug in too many things, it's meant to trip that strip.
Okay.
That's why it has the reset button.
I got you.
Okay.
So that makes it better. But they suggest that you not plug in more than 3 strands in one grouping. No more than
Okay.
3 strands. So be careful of that, because that definitely could overload it.
Yeah, no more than 3 strands. You
And-
heard it
and
here
don't
first.
Don't be the person that's got the one plug behind the tree and there's like 20 things plugged into that one thing.
Was that's like the Griswold lighting
Yeah,
schematic?
that's definitely way overloading. Way overloading.
Well, if the community wants to know more about, being safe during the holidays with candles, with their lights, just in general with cooking, where can they find good fire prevention tips? Is there a website or a place you'd recommend?
Well, actually, there's 2 websites that I use for going out and teaching classes that I get a lot of information from, and that's www.nfpa.org and then www.fema.gov, FEMA. And, of course, the Facebook pages that we have, the Greensboro Fire and Life Safety Division and the City of Greensboro Fire Department. Those 2 pages generally have some information here and there. So
Fantastic.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming, giving us these tips.
You're welcome. Thank you
Everybody,
for having me.
listen to these, go to those websites, have a happy and safe holiday, and, light everything up safely. And
Yeah.
don't
And if you're unsure if your tree needs water it.
water it. Yeah.
one more thing we didn't mention is that the city will pick them up after the season.
Oh, the
At
Christmas
the-
trees.
Yeah, at the street
Okay.
side. So they need to keep that in mind as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds good. Thanks for coming, Dee.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, stay tuned weekly by subscribing to Talk City Greensboro on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. And don't forget, you can download Talk City from Soundcloud.
That's all we have for this week. Thank you for tuning in on Talk City. Be sure to watch GTN, your official source for news and information from the city of Greensboro. GTN is available on Spectrum Channel 13,
AT&T UVerse Channel 99.
North State Channel 31.
GTN also streams live on the city's website at greensboro-nc.gov. Have a good one.